This year is one of those years where Christmas and Hanukkah coincide, bringing us the miracle known as Chrismukkah. Shalom Mishpacha, welcome back fam. This is Rabbi Esther and I am here to talk you through all things Chrismukkah, the convergence of Hanukkah, and Christmas is happening this year. It happens every 3 years or so when the calendars align. This is the year that they are aligning. Christmas Eve is on the 24th of December, Christmas Day on the 25th, and then that evening of the 25th of December, we light our menorahs for the first night of Hanukkah. I'm really excited about this Hanukkah because it includes both Christmas and New Year. So I'm stoked for this convergence, even though I don't live in a household that celebrates both. Our family only celebrates Hanukkah. I am immersed in a very Christian environment and love seeing my friends celebrate Christmas. So I'm going to talk to you about the particular challenge of celebrating Chrismukkah for interfaith families, for families of Jews by choice, for friends and families from different traditions who gather together. So if this is your jam, you are most welcome here. And please do not hesitate to share your thoughts down below on what it means to celebrate both. Do I have any experience with Chrismukkah? Yes, I do, because I grew up celebrating Christmas, not Hanukkah, and I have mentioned this on the channel before, but I have really fond and beautiful and amazing memories of the Christmases that I grew up with in Europe. And for a while, I did celebrate Hanukkah as my family of birth were celebrating Christmas, and I would bring my little menorah to family visits and help them dress the tree, and we would do both. So I have a little bit of experience with the Chrismukkah phenomenon. This is the fourth video in a series on how to navigate the December dilemma, and I will link the other videos in the playlist in the show notes as always. So feel free to check out those videos for a little bit of the backstory of how I frame these questions around the solstice, Christmas, Hanukkah, and other solstice celebrations. In this video, I want to specifically focus on Chrismukkah with the convergence of both, and I have 10 tips on how to get through the holidays when they converge like that. Tip number 1 is it's not a competition. It's very easy to think of Christmas and Hanukkah as kind of identical types of festivals who should somehow be measuring up against each other, the green and red versus the blue and white. And that is a completely erroneous way to think of it. And it actually is based on a misunderstanding of both sacred times. Think of it as a convergence of two different types of festivals that each hold a different place and significance in their respective traditions. Hanukkah is not Jewish Christmas, and while there is a convergent evolution in terms of the cozy things that you do in midwinter, like eat fatty foods and light candles and maybe exchange gifts, that's kind of where it ends as far as the meaning of both festivals. Of course, this is a very multi-layered question. At what point do they start converging? Are there shared themes? There are to some degree. It also depends on whether you look at the Book of Maccabees and the Hanukkah depicted there, or the Talmud and the Hanukkah depicted there. But for those more kind of in-depth conversations, I refer you to the videos that I cited at the beginning of the video for exploring those deeper themes. Point number 2, understand the magic of Christmas. Of course, across the wide spread of Christianity, there are many ways to do Christmas, and there are many ways to do Christian feasts. And I don't want to go into that because I'm not a Christian and it's not my place to go into that. I just want to point out, especially for Jewish viewers who might not be very familiar with Christian holidays, that there's such a wide range within Christendom on how those holidays are celebrated. However, in the contemporary American experience, Christmas is a peak experience. And I think it's really important to understand that Christmas folds different elements into itself and combines them and makes them very potent in the experience of the celebrants that in Judaism are separated out across different festivals. Christmas focuses on three very potent ingredients: beauty, spirituality, and domesticity. Beauty is obvious. It's just a very beautiful festival. The Christmas lights, the tree, the greenery, the decorations, all of that creates a very kind of sensory experience that is just very aesthetic. Expecting Hanukkah to compete with that, well, that ain't going to happen. So understanding that the aesthetics of Christmas are very particular and that we do not need to match those is liberating. The second ingredient of Christmas that makes Christmas really beautiful is the spiritual message. The spirituality of Christmas is redemptive. The spirituality of Hanukkah, well, we're gonna get to that. Devout Christians might argue that it is actually Easter that is the center of their tradition. There's just something about that imagery of the Christ's child in a manger, themes of universal brotherhood and peace and goodwill to all men that cannot be topped by Hanukkah. Here's a trick question for my Jewish viewers. Where do we find those themes of spirituality and peace? In the Jewish tradition. You've guessed it, the high holidays. So if you want that beautiful spirituality of universal peace and brotherhood, go to your Rosh Hashanah services. The third ingredient of Christmas magic is domesticity. It is a very home-based festival that just luxuriates in kind of the mythos of the home. And part of this stems of how modern Christmas was shaped by its Victorian antecedents. It was the Victorians who turned Christmas from being bawdy and quite debauched. It was a drinking festival full of naughty games into the angel of the home mythology of the family gathered around the Christmas tree, opening gifts and singing carols around the piano. That is a relatively new invention. Do we Jews have something similar to that? Absolutely. Hanukkah has some elements of that, but Pesach is our home-based tradition that really reaches into some of those ideas. So now that we have analyzed what Christmas is and what it does, we can appreciate its magic and appeal. And paradoxically, if we seek to understand its magic and appeal, it makes it less threatening to us. Which brings us to point 3. Point 3. Understand the charm of Hanukkah. Hanukkah is not just Christmas's blue and white sad little brother. What are the charming features of Hanukkah? Low-key, cozy vibes. All you need is a menorah, some candles, and maybe some fried foods. Which brings me to the fried foods themselves, just good old honest comfort food. And it is counter-cultural. There's an element of humor and irreverence and rebelliousness and subversion to Hanukkah, which is a great theme to lean into, but that's not the Christmas story. I have heard people say who went from celebrating Christmas to Hanukkah, oh my gosh, it's so relaxing to celebrate Hanukkah. It's not this high production affair, this emotionally high stakes affair with all the bells and whistles. It's just fun and relaxed and mellow. And that's kind of how I feel about it too. Point 4, I already kind of mentioned it, but get your spiritual fix for the high holidays. If you expect Hanukkah to be about peace, love, harmony, kumbaya, all of that stuff, the rabbis tried to rebrand Hanukkah centering around miracles and light because they really had some issues with the Hasmoneans, and I'm kind of on board with the rabbis on this one. I have some issues with the Hasmoneans too. They were corrupt and not that nice and kind of fundamentalist. And I don't want to turn this into a high holiday video, but I do want to say that I know that the high holidays are very intimidating, but if you kind of punch past your own discomfort with them, They are so beautiful and so sweet. See my High Holiday playlist for more High Holiday content and how we understand the High Holidays. Point 5, looking at that trifecta of Christmas that makes Christmas so magical, that dinner. Do the dinner for Pesach. Don't expect a fancy family dinner during Hanukkah. I mean, some people do that. And if you want to do that, that's great. You don't have to try and emulate a Christmas dinner with all the trimmings. You can also just save that energy for Passover. Point 6 is don't take it too seriously. There is an irreverent spirit to Hanukkah that is kind of loosey-goosey and relaxed and a little bit naughty and a little bit subversive. Purim has a similar spirit, and of course that is because they are minor Jewish festivals and they also celebrate instances of survival and Jewish thriving against the odds of the few against the many. If you just want to have fun with it, have fun with it. Hanukkah is the only time of year where my kids really get to have me at home most nights, and it's just a kid-friendly extravaganza. It also depends on the season of your life. Before I had kids, my Hanukkahs were very low-key. I would literally just make some potato pancakes and light my menorah and call it a day. Except that your own relationship with the holiday will change. 7, give yourself permission to be creative. Sky's the limit. No one is policing you how you should do Hanukkah or how you should do Christmas and how you combine the two, if you choose to combine the two, or how you separate the two, or how you allow both to exist on parallel tracks. There will always be an opinion or a judgment from someone else about how you're doing these things. But at the end of the day, it's between you, your family, and your community. Feel empowered and well-informed and confident in the choices that you make from the position of your own authenticity and integrity. 8, be a good guest. Metaphorically, if you are in an intercultural setting, be a good guest. If you are a non-Jew celebrating Hanukkah, be a good guest. If you are a Jew celebrating Christmas, be a good guest. Be a thoughtful tourist or thoughtful visitor in the culture of the other. And you don't have to violate your own boundaries. You can kind of think about what feels comfortable for me to do, what doesn't feel comfortable for me to do. Focusing on just enjoying someone else and enjoying their holiday without having too much anxiety about what you should be doing or not. It's very liberating, and be like, you know, I can just enjoy this on its own terms and respect it on its own terms. Number 9 is embrace sacred envy. That response where you're a little bit jealous of someone else's faith tradition or cultural practice is something we call sacred envy, and it's a very normal and healthy emotion. Don't run away from it. If you're invited over for Christmas or you're celebrating Christmas and you're Jewish and you're thinking like, oh man, they've got a good thing going with Christmas. Don't condemn that thought in yourself. It's true. There are many beautiful traditions in the world and they have many beautiful things. I can have sacred envy for Ramadan or Diwali or Christmas. Whatever it is, it's very natural for us to kind of look over each other's shoulders as human beings and think, wow, that's really beautiful. The underlying foundational attitude to sacred envy is respect and appreciation. So it's actually a really positive thing. It's not a thing to shy away from or to fear, but to embrace and to kind of sit with the place of your own discomfort, because that's often where something really beautiful and creative will happen. It makes you a human being who lives in a complex, open, and integrated world with different cultures and different wisdom traditions and faiths. And we look over each other's shoulders, or we look through each other's windows, and we're inspired by what we see. Number 10, the last one, is just go with the flow. I know it's kind of ironic and paradoxical after having talked at the camera with all of this complexity to say don't overthink it, because I've just helped you overthink it. But I'm still going to say don't overthink it. Be in the moment. Have a good time, and know that no single experience of your Judaism or of your Christianity or of whatever practice you have is going to determine the entire being of yourself. Trust yourself, trust your loved ones, trust the communities that you are interfacing with during the season of Chrismukkah, and relax. Our world is beautiful and complicated, and navigating these things is both beautiful and complicated. That's really okay. I hope these tips kind of help you think through how to approach Chrismukkah, go to the Christmas party, enjoy yourself around the Christmas tree, invite your loved ones and friends over for your menorah lighting and some latkes and some donuts and some dreidel spinning. Be thankful that we live in a country and in a world where we can have these deep relationships across cultures and faiths with each other. Thank you for watching, and maybe I'll have more Hanukkah content coming. I don't know yet, but feel free to check out my previous videos, both the videos I've made so far this year and the videos I've made previous years. And I wish you and your loved ones a Chag Urim Sameach, a very happy festival of lights, and a very Merry Christmas. Bye.